What is up, everybody? Jordan here with the Deck Box, coming back to you today, finally, with the Celestial Storm set review. So I'm doing it a little bit differently than normal. I usually like to put together that nice PowerPoint and go through and rate things a little at a time, and have little animations show up to kind of show you what I ranked it as. However, if you follow me or you follow the channel, on Facebook, you'll know that. You'll know that I put out a little message recently, basically saying, "Hey, I'm in school right now full time. I'm working full time. I have 2 kids, so right now I just haven't had a ton of time to record. I've actually been doing more streaming on Twitch than recording recently. So, 2 things there. One, because of that, I'm not able to make PowerPoints like that consistently, so I figured I need to do this as soon as I can and just walk through it. And secondly, if you're not following me on Twitch, go check me out, twitch.tv/the Deckbox channel. I've been just playing some games on there recently. Obviously, we don't have these cards yet, so they're not up to date for Worlds. But I'm still testing with the decks we currently have, just kind of getting a feel for the decks, just practicing, basically, just skills at this point. But now I'm going to get into the set review. If you've watched my previous set reviews, I am still sticking with the 4 different rankings I have: Pokeball, Great Ball, Ultra Ball, and Master Ball. Basically, a Pokeball is just like, don't waste your time. Great Ball is like, it could be good, or it could be good in one deck, and it's just kind of a tech. It's not anything crazy. Ultra Ball is like, it's really good, potentially its own deck, or it's going to be in every deck. But then there's Master Ball, where it's like you absolutely have to have it, like Tapu Lele, for instance, or Sycamore, and like those are Master Ball cards that they're going to be in pretty much every list. They're going to be multiples. They're necessary. So just kind of to give you an idea there. Anyway, we're going to hop right into this, going over Celestial Storm, which is Japan's SM7 Charisma of the Rex Sky and SM6B Champion Road. There are some cards that we got in this set that were promos for theirs, and then there were some cards in this set, or in their set, that we did not get, that we will likely be getting in their other set, the Dragon Majesty, which makes sense. The ones we're missing are like Dragon Pokemon and things like that. So anyway, we're going to hop into this. I'm basically just going to be covering ones that I think you should keep an eye out for, ones that people are talking about in general. Whether or not I agree with them, I'm still going to talk about those. Then Prism Stars and GXs, I always cover those, and new trainers or returning trainers. Typically go through those. So that's why I'm going to be skipping some, so just bear with me. So starting off, where'd you go? We're going to start off with Sceptile. Sceptile, I think, is a pretty neat card. Sorry, I'm trying to let you guys see it without it blocking the words. So it has this ability, Nature Power. Each of your Pokemon with Grass Energy attached receives no damage from attacks of your opponent's Ultra Beasts. So that right there I think is pretty solid, because we are in a meta right now where Ultra Beasts are very dominant, mainly Buzzwole. So what I'm looking at here is this is Buzzwole proof. As long as it has a Grass Energy on it, Buzzwole can't touch it. That's Buzzwole GX, and that's Baby Buzz. To me, that's pretty solid. So if you look at a Buzzwole deck, typically, so if you look at Buzzrock, if Buzzwole can't touch you, then only Lycanroc can. And what is Lycanroc weak to? Grass. So that's going to cause some problems for Lycanroc. Obviously, there's Buzzgarb, so you can shut down the abilities there. But this is one that I see more after rotation being a little bit better. I still would probably place it. Well, here, let me talk about the attack. The attack, Powerful Storm, 20 times damage. The attack does 20 damage times the number of energy attached to your Pokemon in play. So, doesn't sound great. I mean, to me, though, it's pretty good. I mean, you think about all the energy you have on the board, especially going into Worlds. You do have things like Max Elixir to kind of accelerate that. But at the same time, you got to consider it's the amount of energy, not energy cards. So DCE would count as 2. So you got Grass and a DCE on something else. You're swinging for 60 right there. 90 is a choice band. Pretty solid. It'll take a little bit of time to build up once Max Elixir rotates, so that kind of sucks. But what I'm kind of considering with this is either look at potentially with like Zoroark that runs DCE, it can be attacking early, and then let the Grass Energy build up on the field for a little bit, and then start swinging with Sceptile. Or the other possibility is maybe pair this up with Pheromosa, which Pheromosa is not a great attacker. I'm not saying that at all. But what Pheromosa has is the potential to use B strings. So to me, you throw in a few Pheromosa. They have some okay attacks. They're not terrible, but they're really not great. They're not played right now. So you have that, and then you have B strings. There's going to be a point in the game where you can take advantage of those, use those, slap down a bunch of energy on top of what you already have, and Sceptile's swinging for a lot, and it's kind of a comeback deck. Plus, you have the potential to use counter energy, especially if you're down in prizes like that. So yeah, basically, I'm looking at this card and I'm saying great ball. I don't think it's fantastic, but I think it's one to maybe keep an eye out for. I know this is one that people looked at early on when looking at this set. Moving on from there, I'm very excited about this next one. We have Shiftry GX. So real quick, it's a Stage 2, 240 HP Grass Pokemon. First attack, Perplex, 40 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is not confused. Not bad, just for 1 Grass energy. Moving on from there, Extra Sensory, 90 plus damage for a Grass DCE. This attack does 90 more damage if you and your opponent have the same number of cards in your hand. And then the GX Grass Double Colorless Fandemonium GX. Shuffle one of your opponent's Pokemon and all cards attached to it into their deck. You can't use more than 1 GX attack in a game. So, so I was actually looking at this card a little bit today, messing around with building a Zoroark deck with it, because that just kind of makes sense. If something has DCE, put it with Zoroark. Add some consistency. Use the main attacker, or not the main attacker, but the secondary Pokemon, in this case being Shiftry, as a really solid attacker. So that second attack rather is the focus of this card. 90 plus damage, does 180 if you and your opponent have the same amount of cards. And at first glance, you're kind of like, well, how am I supposed to control that? Glad you asked. So there's a few different ways. Obviously, you got Zoroark, so you can kind of manipulate your hand. You can get rid of a card and add 2. You know, maybe you're short 1, so by doing that, it kind of evens up. You have cards like Judge. Judge is like one of the best ways to make it happen. You both shuffle your cards in your deck, draw 4. You're both at even amounts. Now, the crappy part is you might get something off that Judge that is really important. You just got to hold off. Just don't play it yet. Get your extra 90 damage. You're swinging for 180. If you're a smart person, which I'm sure you are, you're realizing that you add a choice band, you're swinging for 210. That's Zoroark, that's Espeon, Glaceon, Leafeon, all the Eons. That's Buzzwole, that's Lycanroc, with or without having your hand matched up, is going to be knocked out because of weakness. Rayquaza, Bulu, all these big Pokemon just one shot by a Grass DCE, and you get to do it over and over. This isn't an attack like a GX. I mean, it hits like a GX, but you're able to use as much as you want. So I think this is a really, really solid card. I think that it needs to be paired with something, with it being a Stage 2. And I think right now Zoroark is kind of the best option for it. Oh, real quick, forgot to mention the other card where it'll allow you to even up is Copycat. Pre-rotation, I don't think there's room, and I know there's not room, to do 4 of those. Simply because we have pre-rotation, like right before rotation, we always have the absolute most amount of cards we could have to play with, which is fun and all, but when you're trying to fit all this stuff in the deck, it just doesn't allow much space. And there's certain cards you just need with the current format. Post-rotation, you're going to have more room. You could do 4 of Copycat and Judge. Not sure you need them, but you could if you really needed to make that much more consistent. So, with that said, I'm putting this card at an Ultra Ball. It's going to be a solid card. I expect to see it at Worlds. I might even play it at Worlds. I'm considering it. I need to test it a little bit. I printed out some proxies today, so I'll be messing around quite a bit with this deck. Then moving on, scroll, not much great there. This is exciting to me. I really like this card. Magcargo has the ability Smooth Over. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may search your deck for a card, shuffle your deck, and place that card on top. And then the attack, Combustion, Fire, Double Colorless, does 50 damage. We're not in it for the attack. We're in it for that the ability, excuse me. So, what card do we use to draw off the top of the deck? Zoroark. What do we usually use to pick out the cards we want? Mallow. What sucks is when you want to get a supporter, you you can't really use Mallow to do that because you're using your supporter for the turn. So Magcargo comes in and says, I got you. You can put one card on top of your deck. And it reads the exact same way that like Zoroark would, where it's like once per turn, but each one of them can do it. So multiple Magcargos, you put one on top, trade, use the other one to put one on top, trade. So you can keep picking out your cards for each trade. My biggest concern with it, probably more of a pre-rotation concern, and this is a tough set to review because we're right at the border of pre-rotation and post-rotation, but I'm making sure that I'm making myself clear when I talk about these. So pre-rotation, again, there's lots of cards we're trying to fit into these decks. So to me, throwing in, I'd say like a 2-2 line, let alone a 3-3 line, just kind of clunks up a deck. It seems like it makes it really tight. I'm looking at trying to toss a 2-2 in most of my Zoroark lists, even a 1-1, and it just seems like it doesn't allow the space. So with that being said, post-rotation, I feel like it'll be much more accessible to do that. It won't be as big of an issue. Throwing in 2-2 will just be normal. It'll be like including 4 Ultra Balls. With that said, pre-rotation, I absolutely think like Control Zoroark, where you had hammers and delinquents and things like that, kind of like what Tord played, you could definitely include a 2-2 line in there, I would say. And that would just make the deck so much stronger. You have that consistency. And what's great is like your opponent might try to target this guy down, kind of like they would target Octillery down. But if they're targeting him down, they're not targeting down my attackers, and that's fine. So the attackers are still there. They're going to keep swinging, and they're going to keep taking out Magcargos. If they don't take out Magcargos, I'm that much more consistent. So, either way, they're kind of hurting. So I do really like this card. I'm going to say Great Ball for now, simply because, it pretty much just goes in Zoroark decks. So there's a Zebstrika coming out that's basically Octillery, but for one less card. When it comes out, I could see this going with that a little bit. But even then, it's a Great Ball. It doesn't attack. It's just for that ability, and the ability is very niche to certain things. So not a bad card though at all. Let's talk about Blaziken GX. So this is one of the ones that I know initially people were talking about and really excited about it. I'm not one of those people. So it's a stage 2, 240 HP, slash double colors, does 60 damage. Not bad. Then Explosive Kick, 210 damage. Discard 2 fire energy from this Pokemon. Fire, colorless. Then Blaze Out GX, discard 2 energy from your opponent's Pokemon. You can't use more than one GX attack in the game. Yada yada. So, the great thing about this card is it can hit 210, and it can do it more than once. And I know that people originally were looking at this with the other Blaziken that'll be coming out, most likely in Dragon Majesty. That's basically Malamar. But that's a Stage 2 support Pokemon for another Stage 2 Pokemon. And they both use the same basics. So I can't have a large amount of them just spread around. It would have to be a 2-2 split or a 3-1 split. And, if I've only got 1 or 2 of a support Pokemon that's supposed to add energy to a Pokemon that loses energy, it just doesn't seem consistent enough for me. I do like that after Explosive Kick, you're probably, you're taking 2 prizes, and then the following turn, you can use your Blaze Out GX, get rid of a couple energy, so it gives you a turn to set back up. I do like that. I could see this potentially doing okay in the future. For now, I'm just giving it a Pokeball, because I just, Fire doesn't have a ton of support right now. That may change in the future. I know there's Kiawe, but I'm not going to Kiawe onto a Torchic and expect for it to survive. I just don't see it right now. I think post-rotation, and with a little time and maybe some more cards added, it could have some more support, but right now this just gets a Pokeball for me. Moving on from there, Articuno GX. This was one that kind of surprised me. I don't think I was paying much attention when it first came out, or at least when it first was revealed. So the ability, Legendary Ascent. Once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to your bench, you may switch your active Pokemon with this Pokemon. If you do, you may also move any number of water energy from your Pokemon to this Pokemon. So that's basically what Tapu Koko GX does. just swings in there, collects as much water or as much lightning energy as it wants, in this case water, and is able to attack right away. I really, really like that ability. It allows you to make some nice knockouts without having to risk 170 HP GX on the field. I really do like that. And anyway, moving on to the attacks, Ice Wing does 130 damage, Water Colorless, for 3 energy, I could be swinging for a lot more on a bunch of other Pokemon. The only way I could see this becoming really, really good is if for some reason Fire got really big. If Blaziken GX all of a sudden was just really good, Articuno gets really good. It could pair really well with things. But again, I'd probably rather play with Lapras and maybe just have this as a tech card in that deck. I forgot to even mention the GX. Cold Rush GX, discard all energy from both active Pokemon. Not a fan of that. I know it only takes 1 energy, but I don't like hurting myself when I'm trying to hurt my opponent. So this, to me, it's a Pokeball card. Not great. There's better options. I like the ability. I think it could be thrown in as a tech in a Lapras deck just to kind of do some surprise hitting with a fully healed Pokemon. But overall, not a great card. This next one I'm really excited about, Swampert. So this is, some people have called it the new Zoroark GX. I don't know if it's better or worse or kind of in the middle, because it's got some things about it that are better and it's got some things about it that are worse. So first off, it's 160 HP, which is really good for a non-GX. The bad part, though, it is a stage 2, so that's one thing where Zoroark is definitely better. Zoroark's only stage 1, Swampert's a stage 2. So Swampert, to me, is not likely to be a tech thrown into decks, unless something happens in the future, which I'll talk about that in a second. You had the ability, Power Draw, once during your turn before you attack, you may discard a card from your hand, then draw 3 cards. So if you know Zoroark, it's trade, get rid of 1 card, draw 2, this is get rid of 1, draw 3. So that is definitely much better. And you can definitely include Magcargo in this list and have a really solid deck. Then you have Hydro Pump for 3 colorless, 80 plus damage. This attack does 20 more damage for each water energy attached to this Pokemon. So, I mean, if you have 3 water energy attached, you're doing 140, Choice Band's 170. That's taking down a Lele, and you can just build up from there. And water has a decent amount of support. You have Aqua Patch, you have Volcanion, Prism Star, which is really nice. You have Crasher Wake if you choose to use that, which I personally still think it's a good card. If you run the right amount of energy, you can make things happen with it. So yeah, I think water might be in a good spot despite not hitting anything for weakness right now. But this is this is a non-EX or GX attacker, so that to me kind of adds some advantage. Swinging for 170 is really nice. But the way I think it could be really good in the future is if by some chance, again, if Fire got really good all of a sudden, you could definitely include this in other types of decks, non-water decks, as a tech. Obviously, you have the ability, which is great, but then you could slap on a DCE and a basic energy of some other kind. And yeah, you're only swinging for 80 damage, you're not taking full advantage of the attack, but you have a Choice Band on there, 110, you have Fires running around, and you're hitting for weakness, you're swinging for 220. So, it may be a water tech, and I know it's weird to have, gosh, it's a stage 2 water tech. So, okay, maybe not as a water tech, scratch that. But as its own deck, absolutely, I think this could be a really solid deck. Maybe low tier 2. We'll just kind of see what happens in the future. The biggest issue, though, is stage 2. But the consistency is really solid, being able to draw 3 cards after getting rid of 1. So this, to me, this is an Ultra Ball card to me. It's got its own potential to have a deck, and in the future, you never know what it could do. Then one that I don't think many people have really looked at, Ludicolo. At least I haven't heard much about it. So it has this, it's a stage 2, water Pokemon, HP is 140. The ability is Swing Dance. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may draw a card. You don't have to discard or anything, you just straight up draw a card, an extra card. And for water DCE, Circular Steps, 70 plus damage, this attack does 10 more damage for each Pokemon in play, excluding this Pokemon. So, to me, this it seems like it's probably a better Empoleon. because let me see, I don't quite remember Empoleon's base damage. Let me look it up just to make sure I'm not saying anything incorrectly. So Empoleon is 20 times. Okay, so 20 times for each bench, so up to 200, which is not bad. But if they have a lower amount, it really shrinks it up quite a bit. This gets the base damage of 70 and then adds from there 10 per. So if they have their bench full, something in the active, that's 6. We have our bench full, that's 5, that's 11. 110 extra damage, 70 is 180. Choice band, 210. Really solid. Most likely they'll know how to play around that. But at most, you can at least, or at worst, you could at least fill your bench with 5. They're always going to have an active, always. So that's 60 added on. That's 130, choice band 160. And chances are they'll have at least one Pokemon on their bench in case their active gets knocked out. So that's 170. So you're swinging for some solid numbers there. Definitely putting a dent in things. It's a non-GX attacker, so that's nice. You're not giving up a bunch of prizes for this. So if you have to do the 2-shot game, you can. It runs DCE, so you could run Koko to set up numbers appropriately. For example, against Buzzwole, swing 20 on the whole field, and then this 170 becomes a lot more useful. So I think it could be nice. It's got a nice ability there. Run it with some DCE attackers, and I think you could have a nice little inexpensive deck. I'm saying Great Ball for this one. I think people need to keep an eye out for it. I wouldn't say it's near as good as Swampert, but Great Ball for sure. Moving on from there, skip past all these guys. All right, so let's talk about Electro GX. Let's talk about why everyone is crazy if they think it's going to be good. So, it is a Stage 1 GX with 190 HP. We have basics with more than that, so that doesn't impress me too much. The ability, Extra Energy Bomber. Once during your turn before you attack, you may discard this Pokemon and all cards attached to it. This counts as knocking out this Pokemon. If you do, search your discard pile for 5 energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. So, my problems with this, because here's the deal. This Pokemon you're not using for the attacks. The attacks really kind of suck. Actually, Crush and Burn GX is a nice GX attack, 30 plus damage. You may discard as many. Discard, sorry. Yeah, you're just doing a bunch of damage, potentially. You could do better with Raichu, without a GX. So anyway, what I was saying is we're focusing just on the attack, or the ability. My main issue, if I'm having to search my discard for 5 energy cards, that means this is not early game. That means I have to spend my entire game holding back Voltorbs or trying to keep them alive on my bench so that at some point I can get this big boy out there, give up 2 prizes late game, and hope that that's enough to win me the game. The only way that's going to be good is if I have 2 prizes left and I need to just close out the game, and I have Electrode, I slap him down, get my energy, and we're good to go, take my last 2 prizes, boom, and my opponent had 4. If that's the case, if I only had 2 prizes left and they had 4, I'm probably in an okay spot to still survive the game. I shouldn't need a desperate play like this to do that. This, to me, should be like a setup thing, like the other Electrode. It just counts as 2 energy straight up. And I get it, that's, giving up 1 prize, so you definitely need to be sacrificing a little bit more. You should be getting more if you're giving up 2 prizes. So to me, I would rather give up 2 prizes with 2 Electrodes and get 4 total energy straight up, as opposed to having to guarantee that I have 5 energy cards already in my discard pile, turn 2, turn 3, which I know is possible. We have Ultra Ball, things like that. But to me, this just won't be as good as people want it to be. So for that reason, this just gets the Pokeball. Then let's see, Lantern. This was one. What did I look at this with? We haven't talked about Rayquaza yet, but we will. But to me, this could be a nice little side attacker. The ability, Energy Grounding. You can use this ability once each time one of your Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack. Choose a basic energy card attached to the knocked out Pokemon and move it to this Pokemon. So this could be a nice little bench sitter during Rayquaza. Just stacking up energy as as Rayquazas go down, because they will. And the attack for 2 lightning and a colorless lightning strike 70 plus damage, you may discard all lightning energy from this Pokemon. If you do, this attack does 70 more damage. So it can build up those 3 energy and then come out and swing for 140, Choice Band 170. Not too bad for one prizer. Just something to maybe consider as like a backup attacker in something like Rayquaza. I would give this a Great Ball just because it could be attacking that, or potentially other lightning decks, but definitely not in any deck, simply because the lightning requirements. Then we have Manectric EX. This is kind of, I say that very, very strongly, kind of a new Talonflame. So if you know Talonflame, you're able to place it straight onto your, or into the active spot if you open with it in your hand, even though it's not a basic. Manectric kind of does the same thing, but you have to go second. If you go second, you may play this card face down from your hand during setup. So you can play it on your bench, play it in the active, whatever, but you have to go second. So, I mean, you can definitely guarantee that you go second. If it flips in your favor, you can say, hey, I'm going second. However, you won't know if Manectric is in your hand at that point, because usually the coin flip happens before you draw your cards. And, of course, if your opponent wins the coin flip, they're probably going to say they're going to go first. So then from there, looking at the attack, double charge, 40 damage, you may attach up to 2 basic energy cards from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon. So if Lightning gets good, then this could do really well. Simply for the fact, it has that attack, being able to attach a basic energy. However, they have to be in your hand, and that's not always great. You've already attached 1 to Manectric. What's the chance that you started your game with 3 energy? Obviously, you could, Sycamore draw 7, potentially draw into them. But I just don't really see that happening often. I wish this was a colorless attack. I could definitely see that working in multiple decks. I think that would be cool and be much better. But since it's a Lightning, and Lightning's not fantastic as of right now, this could be one, again, that kind of gets tossed into Rayquaza, maybe. But I don't see it being worth the space necessarily. So right now I'm giving it a Pokeball. I could be wrong on this one, but I keep my eye out for it. Moving on down, Mime GX. This is Mr. Mime or Evens, excuse me. So the ability Magic Evens. If this Pokemon would be damaged by an attack, prevent that attack's damage done to this Pokemon. If that damage is 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, 200, 220, 240, 260. So all you have to do is hit odds. Psychic Colorless Breakdown. Count the number of cards in your opponent's hand. Put that many damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon. And then Life Trick GX. Heal all damage from this Pokemon. You can't use more than 1 GX attack in a game. And this, of course, has 150 HP as a GX. Oh, man. I have so many thoughts on this. So there is potential to make this work. It's going to take a very skilled player to make something like this work. So my thought process is, if a player comes up against Magic Evens Mr. Mime, all they have to do, if they're swinging for an odd number, add a choice band, and it automatically makes that an even number. Adding 2 odds makes it even. If they're hitting for an even number, add a choice band, and then it's hitting for odd, and so then you could hit Mr. Mime. It's not a big deal. So this, to me, you'd have to wait till the other Mr. Mime came out, Magic Odds, and then you're going to have to play both of them and try to work around, which one's in the active now, which one's going to be there, and find a way to prevent them from being gusted, which I don't think there's a card right now for that, or just don't play the other one down, and you're going to have to play Lysander Labs to keep your opponent's choice bands from working, because then it would prevent them adjusting their damage output. Who knows? It'll be interesting to see if someone makes it work. Someone's going to make it work, and it probably won't be me, because it'd just take a lot of brain power to make it happen. My other issue is counting the number of cards in your opponent's hand. It's not great. You could force a certain amount into their hand, whether it's through N, and that's only for the Worlds format, and then Judge. You can make them have 4 So you're putting 4 damage counters. That's it. And you can't adjust that with choice bands or anything. So, not super great. As far as the attack goes, this could be a stall deck at some point. Like I said, you play something like Lysander's Labs, or Lysander Labs. Make it work that way. You could do some neat stuff with this. But for right now, I'm just saying Pokeball because right now, currently, there's nothing that's inherently good. From there, looking at Bayonet GX, this was one, again, that I think people were more excited about when it first came out. Now I'm not so sure. So it's a stage 1, 190 HP, not fantastic. Ability, Shady Move. Once during your turn, before you attack, if this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, you may move 1 damage counter from either player's Pokemon to another Pokemon, yours or your opponent's. So that's not too bad, but it's only 1 damage counter. The only way that's really going to matter is if you have a few of these out and you're close to knocking something out, and this sets it up perfectly. So you could use this as a tech to kind of set up some damage. And then you have the attacks. Shadow Chant, 30 plus damage. This attack does 10 more damage for each supporter card in your discard pile. You can't add more than 100 in this way. I was cool with the attack up until it said you couldn't add more than 100, because I'm like, oh man, you could really stack this up and just go crazy, kind of like a Vespiquen or a Night March thing. You can just do whatever you want to your discard pile. But capping it at 130 is not great, because even with Choice Band, you're only swinging 160. Not fantastic. Now, the good thing is, right now Buzzwole is really big. And since it is, this could be good against that. It is Psychic. However, it's not going to be good against Zoroark. It actually is weak to Zoroark. So to me, it's just not fantastic if it can't do that, because Zoroark's pretty heavy right now too. But anyway, then you have 200 GX, put 3 cards from your discard pile into your hand, so Hollow Hunt basically. So to me, Banette's not a great card. Again, this is one that could be teched in to certain decks. I'm not quite sure which ones yet, but it could be a nice little tech in something that runs, Rainbow Energy or something, or a good tech in a Psychic deck that is weak to Dark as opposed to Psychic, just to kind of add that weakness up. So at this point, I'm just giving Banette GX a Pokeball. I don't think I could go higher than that right now. I'd have to see a little bit more. I want to look at Deoxys real quick. Right now, Deoxys is no good. Basically what Deoxys is, it's Mewtwo from Evolutions, except it has a better second attack. But then the downside is it has 10 less HP, but it also has 1 less retreat. So post-rotation, that's going to be good. It only has 1 retreat, so a Skateboard actually works for this. But it has this attack. It's Psychic, from Mewtwo. This attack does 20 more damage for each energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon, so 20 plus. So really good. We know that this concept is really good. And I keep hearing people say, and I even said it today, I was talking to my friends, and I mentioned, well, it just sucks because it can be one-shot by Zoroark. Well, here's the deal. How many times do you slap down a Mewtwo to fight a Zoroark? You don't unless you have to. Your Mewtwo is there as a tech to take on Psychic weak Pokemon. That's what it's there for. So with Deoxys, it'll be good. It won't be good against Zoroark, and you won't play it against Zoroark. You're going to play it for Buzzwole or Malamar decks, whatever. It's going to be to hit Psychic weak Pokemon. So, we know this is at least a Great Ball card because we've seen Mewtwo being played. And like I said, it gets a little better with 1 retreat, just worse with the HP. Moving on from there. So this is a card that was reprinted. A lot of these cards have been reprinted if you haven't caught on already. But Donphan, sorry, I'm moving in the corner so I could read the attacks. So it's 130 HP, stage 1 fighting Pokemon. Has this first attack Flail, 10 times damage. This attack does 10 damage times the number of damage counters on this Pokemon. Fighting Double Colorless, Rapid Spin, 50 damage, switches Pokemon with 1 of your bench Pokemon, then your opponent switches their active Pokemon with 1 of their bench Pokemon. So this would be so much better if Guzma wasn't around, but I still think it's really solid. Simply because, we've seen it before, we know that it's solid. Originally today I was looking at it thinking, oh, this would go well with Zoroark. Anytime I see DCE, I just go to Zoroark. And I certainly think it can, as a nice single prize fighting Pokemon, fighting attacker. I think it could be pretty solid. But then I thought about it, I was like, oh, well, shoot, no, people play Donphan with Wobbuffet. They still do in Expanded. So I'm looking at it and going, okay, well, temporarily you could use Wobbuffet, and then post-rotation you could actually use Hoopa. I think you could have some fun with that. Switch into Hoopa, defend from the GX Pokemon, and then just keep swinging with Donphan. Plus you look at the attacks, 50 damage, doesn't sound great, but you make that a strong energy. Of course, that's only Worlds format. You're up to 70. Choice Band's 100. Diancie is 120. So you're one-shotting Zoroarks right there. And even then, you're swinging 120 with a single prize attacker. You're getting back to where you need to be, and then hopping back up into the active. So you're kind of protecting yourself. Right now, I'm going to have to say this is a great ball, though, just because the numbers aren't fantastic. But I feel like someone's going to come up with something to relive their old glory days. Moving on from there, skip. This, to me, is another bad GX, if you ask me. Fighting Double Colorless, it's Palossand, 210 HP, Stage 1 Pokemon. For Fighting DCE, it does 60 damage, and your opponent's active is now confused. I would much rather prefer something like on Shiftry, where it's 1 energy, 40 confusion, or even Espeon, 30 confusion for 1 energy. This is 3 energy to do 60. Yes, I get it confuses, but confusion isn't fantastic right now. There's ways to get out of it. It's not too difficult. Moving on from there, Fighting Double Colorless, Life Absorb, 100 damage, heal 20 damage from this Pokemon. If I'm attaching 4 energy to a Pokemon, a fighting Pokemon, it's going to be Zygarde GX. It's not going to be Palossand GX, because that attack's just, it's not worth it. I can heal 20 damage. If it was heal, I don't know, 80 damage or 100, like, yeah, absolutely, I think I'd go for that, but 20 is just not enough to make it count. Then for the same cost, 60 times damage, look at the top 13 cards of your opponent's deck. Discard as many Pokemon you find there as you like. This attack does 60 damage for each Pokemon you discarded. Your opponent shuffles the remaining cards back into their deck. So this attack could get out of hand. It could get really, really crazy, and you could hit some solid numbers. However, this is stage 1, so it's going to take you at least 1 turn to get that up. It takes 3 energy attachments at minimum, so it's going to take you a few turns to get that up. So you're 4 or 5 turns into this game, and you're going to expect them to have, we'll say, at least 3 Pokemon in their 13. You could see that, but it may not be likely, because by that point they've played most of their Pokemon down. They've used their Nest Balls, their Bridget, whatever. They've got their basics down at least. Then from there, they've discarded any cards they don't need as far as tech Pokemon. Then they've evolved those basics on their bench, so their deck is slowly thinning up. So they might have 3 to 6 Pokemon in their deck still, but the chances that you're going to find all of those in those 13 is not necessarily likely. So, I mean, this could be a late game attack, but again, even then, you're shrinking up the possibility even more, unless you just happen to know they have it in there. But you can't count on Palossand to make a difference. So to me, Palossand's a Pokeball card. I wouldn't waste my time messing with it, to be honest with you. Moving on from there, we're going to look at Raticate GX. I know this one kind of got some people excited. First of all, it's stage 1, Dark Pokemon, 200 HP, has the first attack throwaway, 40 times damage, discard up to 2 cards from your hand. This attack does 40 damage for each card you discarded in this way, and that is a free attack. Then Darkness DCE, Hyper Fang, 150, flip a coin. If tails, this attack does nothing, so that kind of sucks. And then Item Miner GX, search your deck for up to 6 item cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. You can't use more than 1 GX attack in a game. Excuse me. So, I actually I'm kind of a fan of Alolan Raticate GX. I don't think it's going to be its own deck, but what's nice is with the free attacks, it can be teched into anything. So think about a deck that has trouble with Malamar decks, dealing with Dawn Wings. Alolan Raticate takes care of that. As we know, Dawn Wings is weak to Darkness. Alolan Raticate, if he just discards the top 2 and has a choice band on, he's swinging for 110, which is really solid for no energy to be involved. So that's really nice. And then hitting weakness is 220. So to me, this would be a nice, tech to maybe even consider in Buzzwole. Who knows? You're trying to build up energy on your Buzzwoles. Use Raticate to attack for a little bit. It couldn't hurt. Swinging for 110 is not terrible at all. The GX attack is pretty cool. If you wanted to, start of the game, or not start of the game, but I don't know, put them up as a sacrifice for the 2 prizes. Dig through, find all your energy acceleration, your B strings, whatever, field blowers, tool cards you need. Set things up. Pretty much give yourself the game by sacrificing the 2 prizes, potentially. Or like I said, just use it for that first attack. I think the first attack is enough reason to play a Alolan Raticate GX. And this is one that I might consider looking at tossing into a few decks to deal with Dawn Wings. So I'm giving this a Great Ball for now. I think it could do some serious damage. Free attacks are always nice, so definitely attackable. Moving on, look at Scizor GX. So this is one I haven't looked at a ton, to be honest. I know some people got really excited about it. It's a stage 1, 210 HP, metal Pokemon. The ability Danger Perception. As long as this Pokemon's remaining HP is 100 or less, this Pokemon's attacks do 80 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. I like that that ability. However, right now there's so many ways to reach 210. Obviously, this will do really well against Zoroark. Zoroark's going to be swinging for 120 pretty consistently, unless you work around it, of course. You can definitely work around it. You can hit him for 100, and still have 110 left, and you'll be fine. So you just have to get a little bit smarter, which I appreciate that people will have to do that. But, things like Buzzwole, even its regular attack 160, Choice Band 190, Diancie 210. You're just hitting those numbers. And Malamar Dex, Ultra Necrozma, even though Necrozma Scizor is resistant to Necrozma, you can still add that extra energy, do the extra damage, and one-shot him. So, it could be good. I know that this was good in its time before, so who knows if that's going to replicate into this format. But doing 80 more damage, his other attacks will be one-shotting everything. For Metal, Colorless, Steel Wing, 80 damage during your opponent's next turn. Any damage done to this Pokemon by attacks is reduced by 30. So if you add the 80 from the original, you're swinging 160, Choice Band 190, pretty solid. And then 3 Colorless, Crosscut GX, 100 damage if your opponent's active Pokemon is an evolved Pokemon. This attack does 100 more damage. So that GX attack is actually really awesome, and it's techable. If you really wanted to tech in Scizor into any one of your decks, just for that GX attack, more power to you. 3 energy and you're swinging for 200. Add that Choice Band 230. That's taken down pretty much every evolved Pokemon in the game, aside from we'll see Shiftry coming out soon. So Shiftry might give it some problems, but again, you have things like Ho-Oh to set things up. Or not Ho-Oh, Koko to set things up. Right now, however, I'm going to give Scizor GX just a Great Ball, and I know that might be an unpopular opinion, but with the lack of Fairy right now, and the fact that this isn't super techable, if it was a basic with that GX attack, absolutely, I think it'd be fantastic. But I think Great Ball is kind of right where this card is at right now. Moving on from there. So when we look at Metagross, we have to also consider Steven's Decision, which is a card we'll talk about in a little bit. But basically, Steven's Decision is a trainer card that we've had before, where you can go into your deck, choose 3 cards, draw them, and your turn ends. This Metagross has the ability Extend. If this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, you play Steven's Decision from your hand, your turn doesn't end. Reminder, Steven's Decision ends your turn when you play it, yada yada. So that's pretty nice. You get the choice of whatever 3 cards you want for that turn. You're hoping to draw what you need that start. Instead, you get a Steven's Decision. Perfect. I can set up this awesome combination that I need. It could be Counter Catcher. I need an Energy, and I need a Choice Band just to take this one knockout. So you can do that with Steven's Decision. You can set it up perfectly. So that's what I do like about this Metagross. And it only has 1 attack, though. Meteor Mash, 60 damage during your next turn. This Pokemon's Meteor Mash does 60 more damage. So if you keep using it, it's really good. 60 to start and then 120. So potentially 90 or 150. For 1 Metal Energy, that's not bad. You're hitting some okay numbers. But what I've seen, I think I saw it on Rare Candy, paired it with the other Metagross, the Metagross GX, which of course can hit for more damage. But the fact that you're able to set this up quickly, potentially, because of Steven's Decision, I think that could be good. I'm still just giving it a great ball for now, despite having its own deck and making a trainer much, much better. I don't think that would be fantastic. The only way you could really make this work, too, you could do like, I've heard it mentioned a few times, play it like Sylveon. Play it like a stall deck, but only 170 HP. Stage 2, you got to build it up really, as quickly as you can. To me, that's just going to be difficult to make happen with all the cards you have to include to stall. And to deck someone out, and we're losing quite a few of those with Team Rocket's handiwork and things like that. So to me, I'm just not entirely sure how great this will be. So just a great ball for now. Hopping down, Jirachi Prism Star. This is one that I know people talked about a little bit because it was like one of the weirdest written cards ever. So the ability, Wish Upon a Star. You can use this ability during your turn if you take this card as a face-down prize card. Before you put it in your hand, and if you have room on your bench, play this Pokemon onto your bench, then take one more prize. Okay, if this was a card that you could play 4 of, it would be great. You just take extra prizes here and there. But this is a card where you can only play 1 of. So you have a 1 in 60 chance that it's, okay, not 1 in 60 because you're taking 6 cards. So what, like a 10% chance, whatever. That this will be one of your 6 prize cards. That's not a great chance to waste a slot. Now, if you really have no room in your deck and you say, I got one more free slot, toss this guy in there, you could potentially take two prizes for 1 prize knockout or 3 prizes for a 2 prize knockout, which could make a difference in the game. But if you don't, it's really just kind of a waste. I mean, it has this attack, 3 colors, Dream of Destruction, 10 damage. This Pokemon is now asleep. At the end of your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon is knocked out. If they retreat out of that or Guzma around, the effect goes away. So to me, that's not really the best, attack. I mean, it could be really amazing if your opponent just couldn't get out of it, but the chances of that happening is just pretty slim. So to me, Jirachi Prism Star is just a Pokeball. This will be a nice little collectible for people, but not super playable. Moving on from there. Okay, so we do have Solgaleo here. It's a Stage 2 Metal, 160 HP Pokemon. The ability, Full Metal Body. If this Pokemon has a Metal Energy attached to it, it has no weakness. It's pretty solid. Metal, Colorless, Rising Dash, 130 damage. This attack's damage isn't affected by resistance. I'm not a fan of it. I would much rather play the Solgaleo GX. That can swing for 250 consistently and has an awesome GX attack. I love the no weakness. However, it only applies to this guy. It doesn't apply to like all of his Pokemon. I know there's that GX coming out that does that. I think that would make this much better. And really not having weakness right now as a metal Pokemon, it doesn't really matter. There's not a ton of fire going around. Volcanian's kind of dead at this point, so right now I'd say this is a Pokeball. I'm not going to fight over getting those as of yet. I guess I'll talk about Celesteela. I know people have been looking at it a little bit. So it's 140 HP basic, which is really nice. Very tough to take down. For 1 metal and 4 colorless. Moonraker, 160 damage. If the total of both players' remaining prize cards is 6, this attack's cost is 1 metal. So, I mean, there's a few things to look at. You do have, B-String. So you could attack with this before you're down to a total of 6 prizes. If your opponent goes down to 4, and you can just use your B-Strings on this, set it up, and get it going. So you could be swinging for 190. I don't think that's terrible. That could be pretty good. And then, of course, when you do get down to that 6 prize card remaining thing, you can do 190 damage with a Choice Band for 1 energy. That's never a bad thing. Still, I feel like if you put this in to a deck, you'd kind of be wasting a slot. Now, it could be teched in. People are playing Unit Energy right now, Rainbow Energy, whatever. It could be teched in to a deck just to come out and swing for that awesome damage. Maybe, but no one really techs in Buzzwole to come in and swing for the 120 to take down a Zoroark. No one does that. So I don't see that happening with Celesteela personally. I think it'd be kind of a waste. I'm giving it a Pokeball right now. I just don't really see it. I'm also giving Kartana the same thing, and I would probably give it lower than that if I could, because it does 40 damage normally for 2 metal, but it's a 60 HP. You're not getting 2 metal on it before. I mean, you could put a counter energy on it, but that's your only way. If your opponent has 6 prize cards remaining, which if they do, you can't use a counter energy, you do 90 more damage. So you have to get this guy set up before your opponent can do anything, when he only has 60 HP, and then you can swing for 130. I would rather just take my time setting up like a Zoroark and swing for 120 with a DCE. So a Pokeball for sure. Then Stakataka GX. This is a card that people have been waiting for a while. It has this ability, Ultra Wall. Any damage done to your Ultra Beast by an opponent's attack is reduced by 10 after applying weakness and resistance. So obviously, you could put 4 of these out and do 40 less damage. That actually makes a huge difference. It pretty much negates your opponent's choice bands. Any special damage modifiers just kind of negates them, so it makes it to where they most likely won't be able to one-shot you, because most numbers right now hit right about where they need to. Has some okay attacks. Gigaton Stamp, 120 damage from 2 metal on the colorless, 2 metal on the colorless for Assembly GX, 50 plus damage. This attack does 50 more damage for each prize card you have taken. So the longer you go in the game, the more damage he's going to do. The best spot would be you taking 4 prizes. He can swing for 200, 230 of the choice band. To me, the best concept to use Stakataka would be with Naganadel. Do just a Beast Box. Stakataka does not have to attack. He can just stack. And just put those 4 on your bench. That fuels the fire for Naganadel and reduces damage output towards Naganadel. Could be really good. Or potentially you could put this into... you could toss Buzzwole in there with it and let Buzzwole be an attacker, have a couple of these out. Reducing even 20 or 30 damage still makes a difference. So to me, Stakataka is going to be a great ball, because I don't think it's going to be its own deck, but it's definitely a great tech for decks like Naganadel or Beast Box. Moving on down. Okay, so we're looking at Latias Prism Star. So for 1 colorless Dream Mist, 30 damage, attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to each of your benched dragon Pokemon. So obviously we have Rayquaza coming out, which does more damage for the amount of energy cards in play. And this attaches an energy to each and every one of them, which is really solid from the discard pile. So you have to make sure it's in there, which we have ways to get it in there. But let's say you got your 4 Rayquazas out, or even 3. You get to attach 3 free energy or 4 free energy after you've already used Rayquaza's ability, which we'll look at that in a little bit. But to me, I'm calling this an Ultra Ball. I know it's tough to call an Ultra Ball because it's not going to get 4 of it, and it's not going to be in every deck, but it takes a deck and just makes it so much better than it could be. This is just a really, really solid card. Only does 30 damage, doesn't hit weakness or anything, but setting up is incredibly good right now, especially with things like Max Elixir going away. Post-rotation, this is really going to help push Rayquaza over the edge. And any other dragon deck, to be honest with you. Any other basic dragon deck. Then we have Latios Prism Star, which is a little more disappointing. Double colorless Dragon Fleet, 50 times damage. This attack does 50 damage times the number of Dragon Evolution Pokemon you have in play. Right now, Dragon isn't great, at least not the Dragon Evolutions. Most of them require different types of energy, so that makes them a little less consistent. When I first read it, I read it as just any evolution, and I lost my mind thinking it was going to be amazing, and then I reread it and realized it was just for Dragon Pokemon. So right now I've got to give this a Pokeball, because dragons just aren't great, at least not the evolutions anyway. And with them not being good, this card just can't be good. Moving on, the people's favorite Rayquaza GX. This is not my favorite. It's a dragon Pokemon, basic HP 180 ability, Stormy Winds. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, during your turn you may discard the top 3 cards of your deck. If you do, attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to this Pokemon. So the cool thing about that is, I've had it explained to me, you don't have to discard an energy from those 3 cards. You could already have an energy in your discard pile. The sacrifice is you're giving up 3. Now, if you're giving up 3 and one of them is an energy, it's much better, because then Latias gets better, and then of course you can just use that as your discard to put onto this Pokemon. So you can be setting things up very quickly, especially right now with Max Elixir still in format, so it can get really out of hand really fast. Then for a Grass, Lightning, Colorless, Dragon Break, 30 times damage. This attack does 30 damage times the amount of basic Grass and basic Lightning energy attached to your Pokemon. So, I mean, once you get just 3 on him, that's 90. Choice Band 120. So those are solid numbers right there already. But you've also got your other Rayquazas that you put on the bench that probably have energy on them. We'll say you have 2. So that's an additional 2, so that's 5. That's 150, Choice Band 180. One more and you're up to 210. I mean, it can just get out of hand really, really fast if you're not careful. So I'm expecting that someone's going to find a way to counter Rayquaza pretty well. At least I hope they do, because I don't want to get into a format where there's just one deck that's just incredible and you can't beat it or whatever. There's got to be a way to beat it. I'm looking into it. We'll see what happens. But anyway, he also has Tempest GX for Grass. Discard your hand, draw 10 cards. Not bad, especially if you have a low hand size. Maybe early on in the game, you kind of lower your hand size. You use this GX attack to set up more Rayquazas in the future. To me, Rayquaza is an Ultra Ball card. It's going to be fantastic. It has its own deck. And despite my feelings towards it, I personally don't think it will win Worlds. I'm in bets with a couple of people saying that it will. I think it's going to be really good, but I think it's going to be so hyped that someone's going to find a way to counter it, and it's going to cause problems for it. So I don't think it'll win Worlds. I think it'll go far, but we'll see. Who knows? I may be losing a bet. Then from there, we've all heard about Dunsparce. Strike and Run. Search your deck for up to 3 basic Pokemon and put them on your bench. Then shuffle your deck. If you put any Pokemon on your bench, you may switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. That's really the main attack that people are looking at. To me, you don't have to go second, I guess, but you'd have to run at least 2 or 3 of these to make it happen, to make the space count. Because if you just run one, chance that you start it isn't going to be great. So you have to run 2, 3, or 4 to up the chances of starting it, so that you can set up like a Bridget. Basically, that's kind of the goal of it. And really, this is better if you go second, obviously, because it's turn 1 Bridget essentially. So to me, Dunsparce it's a Pokeball. I think you're giving your opponent a free prize. I know you get to set up, but I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm sure it will be used by some people. I'm sure it'll do well, but I personally most likely won't be using it. And then let's see here, what else we got? Let's get past some of these guys. So we have Delcatty. I know people have talked about this. It's really just for the ability. When you play this card from your hand to evolve a Pokemon during your turn, you may search your discard pile for 2 supporters, reveal them, and put them into your hand. So this could be a nice little tech. My biggest concern is bench space is very, very important right now, especially when you're slapping down 1 to 2 Tapu Leles a game, plus your attackers, plus your support, and then you're going to go and add this guy to your bench. I just don't see it being super helpful. Potentially better in like a stall deck to be able to recycle supporters, or in something where bench space isn't as critical. I'm saying Pokeball for this right now, but I'm sure someone will come up with a fun way to use it. Then moving on to the trainers. I'm not going to cover all of the ones that are repeats because we know most of them. I will cover certain ones where I think I have a little bit different opinion than others, and explain my reasons why. So the first one would be Acrobike. I played with this and expanded when I first started. I know it's a great card. Look at top 2 cards of your deck and put one into your hand, discard the other card. So I know it's a good card, but I don't think the meta is great for it right now because even as of late, Acrobike has kind of just left decks. It expanded, it kind of went away. There's other options right now, and with puzzles going away, I think it makes cards like this a little worse. I even think it makes cards like Zoroark a little worse. I mean, it's pretty obvious you can't recycle your stuff as well without puzzles, so it makes it a little more difficult. So I just don't see this going in. It would depend on the deck. There's certain things where the more of something is in the discard pile, the better. Maybe something like Banette, where you get rid of supporter and it adds damage, whatever. But I look at Acrobike as a great ball card. I think it could do well. I don't think it's going to be a 4 of, and I don't think it's necessarily going to be in every deck. Again, I could be wrong, but just the way I see it right now, I don't see it being as good as it was before. Then we have Apricorn Maker. It is a trainer card. Search your deck for up to 2 item cards with ball in their names. Show them to your opponent, put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So free, 2 free searches for Pokemon, basically. I would rather just use Pokemon Fan Club. Grab the 2 Pokemon. Now, they'd have to be basics. But if they're evolved, you have things like Evo Soda. I could use items, basically, to do a better job than what the supporter would do. So to me, that is a Pokeball. Then we have Beast Ball. Look at your face-down prize cards. You may choose one Ultra Beast you find there, reveal it, and put it in your hand, and put this Beast Ball in its place. I don't love this card. And here's why. So, for me, Ball Search is from your deck. The only reason I would play Beast Ball is if I ran a one-of an Ultra Beast, and I absolutely needed it, and it got prized. But here's the thing. If I absolutely need a beast, why am I only running one of it? And in which case, if I'm only running one of it and I really need it, I'm not going to run 4 beast balls to potentially get that one out of the discard pile, which is what you'd have to do. Because if you just run 1 or 2, what's the chance that those aren't going to get prized? Or that you're just not going to draw into them when you need them? So to me, Beast Ball is a Pokeball. At this point, I don't think it's fantastic. And again, I could be wrong with that, but I just don't see it. Skip by. Let's look at Copycat. Shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw a number of cards equal to the number of cards in your opponent's hand. This is going to be a good card. Especially playing against Zoroark, you're going to be able to take advantage of their trades if they aren't able to play it down. So, a lot of times Zoroark players just build their hands up really huge, and, then they're kind of set up. So this might force them to be a little bit more conservative with their trades. That, as well as using puzzles, it's going to make them be more conservative with it, or force them to play their cards down so that you don't just slap down a Copycat and draw 15 cards. So Copycat's definitely going to be good. I think this is an Ultra Ball for sure. It's going to really kind of mess with your opponent whenever they think they're in a good spot because they have a large hand size, and then you're like, well, so do I. And of course, I talked about Shiftry. Shiftry will definitely take advantage of this card when using his second attack. Then, let's see. So we have Energy Recycle System. Search your discard pile for basic energy cards. You may either show 1 basic energy card to your opponent and put it in your hand, or show 3 basic energy cards to your opponent and shuffle them into your deck. So this is basically Rescue Stretcher, but for energy. And I think it's a really good card. The fact that I can... Because, we had Super Rod, you can shuffle it into your deck. We have Energy Recycler, you can shuffle it into your deck. But if I can go to my discard, grab 1 energy that I know I need, to me that makes it that much stronger. I can attach it to what I need to do. To me, this is an Ultra Ball card. It's going to go in most decks that run basic energy as maybe a 1 or 2 of. And I know only 1 or 2 of should typically be Great Ball, but this card will make such a difference that I think it's an Ultra Ball of a card. The fact that I can just go in, grab my energy, and keep moving. And we've seen how Rescue Stretcher has been played, again, only as a 1 or 2 of, but when you play it, it makes a big difference for your game. Sometimes it's kind of how you close games out. So, let's see, repeat. So, Friend Ball, search your deck for a Pokemon that's the same type as one of your opponent's Pokemon to play, reveal it, and put it in your hand, then shuffle your deck. Only thing this is good for is Search and Lele's, in my opinion. And I would much rather just have Ultra Balls. And the reason I say it's only good for Lele's is because most of the time, people aren't going to play the same type you are. There's Buzzwole, there's Malamar, there's Zoroark, there's Lapras, there's going to be Shiftry. That's 5 different types I just listed. They're not necessarily going to have the same type out as you. This would pretty much only be good in like a Psychic deck, Malamar, because people are going to have Lele's out, or they're going to have a Psychic Tech out most of the time. So it could be good in there. And then, like I said, it could be good for grabbing Lele's, but I would not put this into my deck just so that I could potentially get a free Lele. I would rather just put Mysterious Treasure or Ultra Ball and keep it consistent that way. So to me, Friend Ball is just a Pokeball at this point. I don't think it's going to be fantastic. Alright, then we have Hiker. Look at the top 5 cards of either your deck or your opponent's deck and choose 1 card. Shuffle the remaining cards back into that deck. Then put the card you choose on top of that deck. So this could be really nice for yourself or for your opponent. I would say probably more so for your opponent, kind of disrupt them. put some really crappy card up top that you know is going to be a waste. Maybe stage 1 when they don't have their basic down, or whatever. A stadium when there's already the same stadium out, it's just wasteful. It doesn't matter. So this could be good for like stalling and mill. I don't think it's going to be something you put into every deck, but like I said, something like a stall or control deck could definitely do well. And so I would give that a great ball. Then we have Hustle Belt. I'll cover it just so people know. I don't think it's good. So if the remaining HP of the Pokemon this card is attached to is 30 or less, its attacks do 60 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. If there's no damage counters on this Pokemon, this tool does nothing. So you can't just have a 30 HP Pokemon. It would have to be like a 40 HP, attach a Rainbow Energy or whatever, and do damage. Or you just happen to not be knocked out. Like I said before, that doesn't happen that often. You're either two-shot with them taking about half your health away and then the final half in an attack, or just one shot. It's not often that you're left with 30 or less HP. They'll just knock you out before they do that. So I don't see this having much play. I'd much rather my consistent choice band add the 30, not get so greedy. So this is a Pokeball for me, not good. Same with Last Chance Potion, heal 120 damage from one of your Pokemon with 30 or less HP. It's most likely not going to happen. I would much rather just play Max Potion and sacrifice the energy. So to me, this is a Pokeball. Let's see, any new ones? So we have Lysia, I'm not exactly sure how you say that, sorry guys. Search your deck for up to 2 Prism Star cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So, at first glance, that could seem kind of good. However, there's pretty much only one deck right now that will go after 2 Prism cards, and that's Buzzwole. It goes after Diancie Prism and Beast Energy. That's it. And yes, that's a combo that you'll see quite a bit. However, with it being only one of each, there's a chance one of them is prized. So, yeah. And you have Ultra Ball, you have Nest Ball, you have Brooklet Hill that could get your Diancie out. That's the other thing. Most of these Prism Stars are Pokemon, so you could search them out with Ball support. So to use a supporter for that seems kind of dumb. And then, like I said, you have Beast Energy, which yes, that could come in clutch, but I think I'd rather use another supporter to try to dig through my deck and find it. So Pokeball for Lysia. Then we have Lure Ball. Flip 3 coins for each head. Choose an evolution card from your discard pile, reveal it, and put it into your hand. I don't know. I mean, it's like Timer Ball, but it's in the discard. And if it's in the discard, you had to have gotten it there probably earlier or been knocked out. So that means you have to risk having your basic out on the bench late game. I'm saying Lure Ball is a Pokeball. I'm not a huge fan of it. This could be one like Timer Ball where we're proven wrong, but to me, I just don't see it getting much utility. Then we have Masked Royal. Attach a basic energy card from your hand to one of your Stage 2 Grass, Fire, or Water Pokemon. I actually kind of like this. It could make Shiftry GX a lot better. It could make Blaziken a lot better, honestly, because you're having to discard 2 cards from the attack. So then you get your basic attachment back. You use Masked Royal to get the second one back. You're back up and swinging again. So I may have to go back and look at Blaziken again and maybe consider him with Masked Royal. And then as far as with Shiftry, you can use this to attach the Grass Energy and then attach the DCE as your attachment for turn, and he's up and swinging. So something to consider. I'm still saying Pokeball for now because it's very, very specific. And I don't know how much play it'll see because most of the time I would much rather play a different supporter. This would just be a real a niche card to use occasionally. So we'll have to see what happens with that in the future. Then we have Pokénav. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may choose a Pokemon card or an energy card, reveal it, and put it in your hand. Put the remaining cards back on top of your deck in any order. That card's trash. I would rather use a Ball Search to find my Pokemon just to guarantee it, because 3 cards is a very, very small percentage of what you're digging through. And then to find an energy, we have Max Elixir that digs for 6, and you get to attach it. So to just find an energy that's not great, I would rather use Energy Lotto to dig through the top 7 cards and find an energy there. To me, that'd just be much, much better. So Pokeball on that. Then Rainbow Brush is another new one. Search your deck for a basic energy card and switch it with an energy card attached to one of your Pokemon in play. Shuffle the switch energy card back into your deck. We don't run a lot of decks with different types of energy other than something like Vikabulu or Rayquaza, but they both require those. So we wouldn't want to switch the type. This could make it possible to do some like combo decks with different types that you normally wouldn't see together. But overall, I don't think it's going to see a bunch of play because I think we'd much rather add consistency cards than something that can swap out an energy. So that to me is a Pokeball for sure. Then we have Shrine of Punishments. This is a pretty neat card. Between turns, put 1 damage counter on each Pokemon GX and Pokemon EX, both yours and your opponent's. So to me, this will be one that will go really well in a non-GX deck for sure. So you're not doing damage to yourself. You're just adding a little bit, poking them, because it could mean the difference between knocking them out and missing it. So I think this will go great in those. Maybe something like, I looked at Ludicolo that can hit for 160 or 170. Same with Swampert, sorry. Swampert that can hit for some solid numbers, but it might be just that 10 damage off. Slap this down and you're there. And then, of course, spread decks. This will work really well with it. Just add that little bit of damage to each GX as it goes, and it could definitely cause problems for your opponent. So that's a great ball for me. I think it's going to be used for sure. Then we have Sky Pillar. All bench Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's, aren't affected by damage or effects from the attacks of an opponent's Pokemon. So this is basically Mr. Mime as a stadium. I'm not a huge fan. There's not a ton of sniping. You have Latios and Coco, and that's not used all the time. So we'll have to see what happens in the future. For me, Sky Pillar is a Pokeball. I'd much rather add other consistency cards to my deck than that. Alright, then we have Steven's Resolve. We talked about this already. Search your deck for up to 3 cards and put them in your hand, then shuffle your deck. Your turn ends. This will be good in 2 ways. Either if Metagross does well, or if you throw this into a stall or mill deck, because most of the time you're not attacking, so just use your supporter as the final part. Draw your 3 cards for the next turn. You're set up to heal yourself, whether it's grabbing max potions, field blowers, whatever, just to kind of take care of things, and then move on. That's the only time this card's going to be good. I'm going to call it a Great Ball, just because I know that if the decks it's in are, if the decks that it is in are good, it'll be because of Steven. Yeah, it won't be out of their, inherent strength. Let's see. Oh, we get the old school scoop up art back. We know what that card does, though. Tate and Liza. Okay, so this is one that I've heard some mixed reviews on. I've heard some people say this is going to be awesome because it's an option card, yada yada. And I've heard some people say it's going to be trash because it is. Shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 5 cards. Shauna. We didn't play Shauna. Switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Olympia. But she had healing. We played Olympia like 1 tournament, and it was like a one-of. So I don't see how putting those 2 together is going to make it good. People are like, yeah, but then you get the option, just add some strength or whatever. And I'm like, well, I could just include some more switch cards, or I could include Cynthia's and make this a little bit stronger. So to me, Tate and Liza is a Pokeball. I'm not a huge fan. I don't think it's going to see as much play as people think, if any. Let's see here. So we have Underground Excavation. Look at the top 4, or look at the 4 cards from the bottom of your deck. Choose any 2 cards there and put them in your hand. Put the remaining cards back on the bottom of your deck in any order. That could be a stall or control card because you're getting to choose the 2 cards, but you're only getting to choose 2 out of the 4. So to me, Underground Expedition is a Pokeball card. It's not going to be fantastic, but yeah. And then, of course, we do get the old school looking rainbow back. And then here are some of the full arts. That Shiftry looks sick. Blaziken doesn't look too bad. Electrode, Mr. Mime, Banette. Whoa, Banette got huge. Scizor, Stakataka, Rayquaza, and then we got some of the full art trainers, yada yada. So anyway, guys, I think this next set's going to be interesting because there's a lot of still unknowns because we're looking at cards, at least if you're new to the game, that you haven't necessarily seen in the past. And if you've been around in the game for a while, you're looking at a lot of old cards that are now going to be integrated in with a lot of new things. So you're not going to know if they're necessarily going to be as good as they were before. So this is a very interesting set. I think there's some really solid cards in this. I think in this upcoming format, non-EX or non-GX Pokemon rather. EXs will be gone. Non-GX Pokemon, I think we'll do some big things. Simply based on some of the cards I've seen, some of the cards we have that are already making a splash. I think we're going to be looking at a lot of one prize decks doing very, very well. So anyway, guys, I'd like you to hit me up in the comments. Let me know if there was a card that you thought I missed. Let me know if you thought I was wrong about something. I'm totally cool with that. We can have differing opinions and still have fun. Let me know which card you're looking forward to the most from this set. I'm personally looking forward to building Swampert. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And then Shiftry GX as well. So let me know, guys, in the comments which ones you're excited for. I'm going to try to, like I said, do some more streaming on Twitch this upcoming week, twitch.tv/thedeckbox channel. So if you don't see me on YouTube, that's where I will be, is over on Twitch. I always send out a tweet to let people know. So follow me on Twitter at J3T8LAK. And then on the Facebook page, facebook.com/thedeckboxtcg. That's where you can find updates for the channel. I'd let people know on there when I'm going to be streaming so that they don't miss it. And then, yeah, I will be, hopefully within the next couple weeks, putting together some deck lists from the new set that you could maybe start testing out for Worlds. This week I'm going to be testing a little bit with my sister and some friends, so we might be able to come up with some ideas for you guys and let you know. So guys, as usual, thank you so much for watching this deck review. I greatly appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave a like. If you haven't already subscribed, please be sure to do that. I would greatly appreciate it. And as usual, I have been Jordan with the Deck Box, where I want to know what's in your box. Have a great night, guys.